We needed to build a system of testing and scoring that could be as objective and unbiased as possible. So we take all of those, as much sort of subjectivity out of it. We test mattresses in the exact same way. We score mattresses based on the testing data that comes back, and then we make recommendations and analysis based on those scores and the data. And so, really, so much of the foundation of NapLab was built around that system. So I can take sort of myself and my sort of subjective opinions out of it as much as possible.
Hey, Guy Powell here, and welcome to the next episode of the Backstory on Marketing and AI. And if you haven't already done so, please visit prorelevant.com and sign up for all of these episodes and podcasts. Most of you know, I am the author of the upcoming book, The AI Marketing Machine, and you can find out more information about that at marketingmachine.prorelevant.com. And stay tuned because some things are changing. We're getting very close. And definitely sign up for the newsletter. And if you do, then you'll be one of the first to know about some new stuff related to my upcoming book. So today I'm interviewing Derek Hales, and he is the founder and editor-in-chief of NapLab. And let me tell you about him. NapLab is a platform that tests and reviews mattresses using a battery of objective and data-driven tests. Derek's reviews and personalized mattress recommendations help consumers quickly find options that match their needs, preferences, and budget. He has over 10 years mattress testing experience and has tested more than 470 mattresses. Wow, mattresses are so critical. We spend at least 8 hours a day there, a third of our lives on a mattress. And if they're not what we want, then that's a big deal. And it's funny, I have worked as well for a mattress company and never really thought about mattress testing. So anyway, Derek, welcome, and really appreciate you being here.
Before we go any further, a quick pause. This is important. Your sales force is one of the most expensive investments in your company. The real question isn't who's likely to buy someday. It's who should be called right now to create the most value. Traditional propensity models tell you who might convert. Our prescriptive modeling, called COPA, tells you who will convert because you called them. If you manage a large sales organization and want higher conversion, bigger deals, and better use of every rep hour, let's talk. If you want your sales team focused on the calls that matter most, visit prescriptivemodeling.prorelevant.com and set up a short strategy session.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, hopefully. Glad to have you, and hopefully I won't be falling asleep testing out the my own mattress. I'm sure it's
Surely.
not going to be the case. But anyway, tell us your backstory on AI and marketing.
Sure. So my sort of background in the world of marketing really began kind of right out of college. I had a job where I started working at a major digital marketing agency doing basically SEO, search engine optimization strategy for Fortune 100 type brands. So I did that for 4 years, helping really big brands get, bigger and better visibility. Really set a good, I think, just kind of foundational knowledge for the world of digital marketing and SEO in particular. After 4 years of that, I left my job and started my career as a professional mattress tester, which really just kind of began out of a need of a mattress. I needed a bed. I was looking for reviews and trying to understand, what was going to be best for me. And I ended up sort of, rolling this entire thing into a career as a professional mattress tester. And I've been doing that for 11, going on 12 years here. During that time, beyond just, learning how to test and communicate about mattresses, we've grown tremendously in the world of marketing and SEO and AI, and using these tools to basically get our message out and attract viewers and customers and readers back to our website and our YouTube channel.
Yeah, interesting. I hate to say it, when I saw Nap Lab, for whatever reason, the Napster came to mind as opposed
No,
to Nap Lab and what you're doing.
yeah.
So, fantastic. It's a kind of an interesting thing to do, but it sounds like you've got some other really good experience in marketing in general and then search and what have you. So, really fantastic. So, now, how did your experience with mattress shopping inspire you to create a data-driven review platform? And how does that relate to AI's potential in marketing?
Hi, for me, it really just kind of came down to a personal problem. My wife and I got married in 2014. We needed a new bed. So we did kind of what we thought was the kind of expected normal thing. We went into stores, we tried some beds. We found some beds we liked, but four, five, $6,000, well outside of our budget as a newly married couple. So we're also pretty frugal people, just couldn't spend that much money. So we ended up taking a chance on some of these online brands that were just kind of coming out at the time. So it was, $600 for an all foam king mattress. Ended up not liking it, returned it pretty quick. Really easy return policies. That was great. We then tried another different online brand. It was a little bit better. We kept that one and really just kind of as a fun weekend hobby project. I was like, oh, I just want to build a website this weekend. I'm going to review these two beds. I'm going to compare them. I'll talk about my experiences in store and my notes and all the research I did and just throw it out there, just see what it would do. And within just a few weeks, it just blew up. I mean, it was very clearly there was a lot of interest in this. I think there were clearly other people that were having the exact same problem I have. We were going out trying to find information about these brands, and there's just nothing out there. And so we were kind of first to really get out there and try to create a really detailed review for the products we tried. And very quickly, our readers were, really, really enjoying the site, asked us to test and review more. We kept testing, kept reviewing. So within just a few months of starting the site, it was doing well enough that I was able to leave my full-time job and begin my career as a tester. Initially, AI was, not a part of it. It was 2014. This was well before the days of AI. But in more recent years, we've been able to basically use AI to just kind of advance what we're doing, especially in terms of efficiency. So AI has allowed us to take our data-driven testing and just make it faster and better and more robust. So we're able to pull in more metrics more quickly, compile the type of information that people want to see in our reviews, but do so in a way that saves us a tremendous amount of time.
Yeah, interesting. And that is one of the things with AI. And at this conference I was just at yesterday, there's certainly areas in marketing where AI can really drive efficiency, but then also it's, potentially about getting the right measurements and metrics and the transparency there. So how do you see, AI with measurement and transparency really evolving now into the marketing space?
Yeah, I think it's a real challenge, right? Because my company was really founded on not no automation. We're not trying to be fast. We're trying to be the best, the most robust. And so there's this fine line between we don't want AI to sort of take away what has made us a unique sort of website in this marketplace, whereas so many others are trying to automate as much of the sort of creation of content as possible. We still want the creation to feel very human, to feel very us. And so there's definitely a fine line we've been writing. And so we have tried to use AIs in ways that allow us to gain the efficiency and the speed without sort of taking away what I view as our sort of our core competencies, our deep dive reviews. And so there are areas where I think we can do that in terms of, research and outlines and pulling in things that are sort of objective facts, objective data about a particular product or service. But when it comes to the analysis of the data, I think that's something where we have sort of left AI kind of on the sidelines. Like sometimes we've used it to support the work or just kind of again sort of build some ideas, a framework for kind of how we would discuss it. But I think especially when it comes to content creation online, it's really easy to run the risk where you can sort of overuse AI and it starts to feel like it starts to feel like AI. And we really want to lean on the other where we feel human, but we are supported by AI and big data that helps us just create more compelling and robust and accurate recommendations.
Yeah, interesting. Sleep is so important. And, I never even would have, I mean, obviously I would have gone out and maybe, looked at some reviews on a couple of mattresses, but I wouldn't necessarily have gone out to find a site that actually, does testing and gives you an independent review of what's going on. So, have you seen any? Were there any other competitors when you started, or how did that this market kind of evolve for you?
In 2014, there were just a handful of very sort of amateurish type sites, blogger type sites. So there was some stuff out there, but not really. We were the first sort of, real major player to come in and try to do this at scale, try to do this, more professionally and structured with rigid editorial processes. But we look, where we're at now, and it's a pretty established industry. You've got some pretty big players, sort of big sort of marketing companies that own sort of multiple mattress review sites now. And so it's become a very competitive space with very few sort of independent operators like NapLab left.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. So, do you have brands coming to you to have them test out their new mattresses or their existing mattresses?
Definitely. We get requests every week from major mattress brands who want us to test, new stuff they've got coming out, or maybe they've had an update or a redesign. They want us to test a new version. So you'll often have those, and brands want to get good exposure and hopefully good reviews for their products, and they send us those product samples with the hope that we'll like it and write about it, and that it will be good for them. But ultimately, our reviews are always objective, always honest, always transparent. So whether it's good or bad, we can never promise anything to a brand. We run our tests exactly the same way every single time, and the results are the results, and we always publish those, whether they're good or bad or in between.
Yeah, interesting. So, if you don't mind me asking, so what are the kind of some of the tests and things that you're looking for as you're reviewing a mattress?
Sure. So we have a battery of 10 objective and data-driven tests. We're looking at 43 different data points on the mattress. So we're looking at everything from cooling to motion transfer to pressure relief, off-gassing, edge support, sex, and other factors that are important to consumers. And so we have these different things that we're looking at, and each one we've tried to basically line up with different tools and measurement devices so that we can bring objective data into those. So it's not just me saying that this mattress feels cool. We have, thermal cameras that are measuring surface level temperatures. It's not just me saying, hey, this feels like a low motion transfer or some sort of wine glass to measure motion transfer. We are dropping a medicine ball on one side, and we have an accelerometer on the other side where we're measuring, an acceleration wave. And we can see exactly the peaks and the valleys and how long. And so we want to try to bring as much objective data and quantifiable information as possible so that, again, it's not just a mere opinions and subjective assessment, but it is data-driven assessment based on quantifiable information.
Quick pause. This is important for any marketing leader. Marketing must continuously prove its value or the budgets dry up. Marketing mix models provide that proof in a way finance and leadership can believe. And we at ProRelevant help teams answer critical questions. Which campaigns actually worked? Which channels really moved the needle? And where should the next dollar go? With over 20 years of experience across complex marketing environments, we know how to deliver clarity, not guesswork. To learn more, go to mmm.prorelevant.com and set up a short strategy session. And now, back to the podcast.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as you mentioned the medicine ball, I think of that brand that drops the egg on there. I'm always
Yeah.
wondering if they actually do that and it actually doesn't break or not.
Yeah, that is, I think, one of the most crazy sort of videos that's sort of been out in recent years. I too, I wonder, but it's man, I don't know how you would fake it without really faking it, but
Yeah.
seemingly it works.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that'll have to be added to one of your tests. I could imagine, though, that remaining kind of fair and objective is not that easy, and especially when you have brands coming to you and coming up then with a really valuable, independent, and fair, obviously, and objective tests. And how has AI help you, address that and improve that?
So that's a good question, and one we're still kind of struggling with. So when we sort of set about building the foundations of NapLab, that was sort of the key sort of requirement. We needed to build a system of testing and scoring that could be as objective and unbiased as possible. So we take all of those, as much sort of subjectivity out of it. We test mattresses in the exact same way. We score mattresses based on the testing data that comes back, and then we make recommendations and analysis based on those scores and the data. And so, really, so much of the foundation of NapLab was built around that system. So I can take sort of myself and my sort of subjective opinions out of it as much as possible. And so that lets us be, I think, as again independent and trustworthy and transparent as possible, where we can lean on the scores, and the scores allow us to really then speak very directly about how a mattress performs, because we're always pointing back to specific data points that are telling us, why a mattress is performing the way it is. AI has been sort of interesting as we've tried multiple times over the last few years to incorporate more AI analysis into it, especially with respect to company policies. And so in recent years, we had really wanted to expand the scope of our company score, where we look at things like trial period and warranty, and returns and refunds. I think all those are important, but one sort of missing piece is sort of this sort of overarching sort of kind of consumer sentiment analysis around what do people think of this brand. And so we attempted to use AI basically to find this, where we would aggregate tens of thousands of customer reviews, and then use AI to understand those, and then use that analysis to then say, okay, well, this company is better or worse based on these tens of thousands of reviews, and AI is telling us all these different things about them. After kind of 6 months of really working at it, we ultimately kind of abandoned it. And I don't really know that it was necessarily AI's fault. I think it was kind of the data fault. And this is the classic problem, kind of garbage in, garbage out. It was really hard to aggregate a large quantity of reviews while being able to then take out things that were clearly artificial, manipulated, paid,
Hmm.
fake, things that were talking about a product that were just, irrelevant. People would, give a 1-star review for a mattress, and they're complaining about like FedEx's shipping. Like that's irrelevant. But being able to sort of filter out all the things that were irrelevant while keeping in, I think, sort of, the good, the genuine type of reviews that I think really are helpful for this analysis, we just couldn't sort of turn garbage data into something that was accessible. So I don't really know that it was the fault of AI, more as the aggregation of the reviews. Perhaps a better sort of data scientist could figure out how to make those filtering requirements than I am. But it's something we certainly struggle with. So as of yet, we haven't really brought AI into our scoring in any sort of meaningful way. And again, I don't think it's AI's fault. It's more just the nature of how we're analyzing data and the limitations of the data itself.
Yeah, that's definitely a challenge, when you're looking at social, and especially looking at reviews that may not be, consumer reviews. There are marketers writing a review, or there are a paid influencer writing something that, that's biased in one way. And that's one of the challenges, I think, with that. But, when you were talking, I was thinking one of the things that we do when we're looking at a brand and trying to understand the brand value is we kind of look at what the let's say the functional scores are, and then rank them by what their importance is. And so even though we've got these 10 scores, I could imagine that younger folks may lean towards preferring a better this in score number one, but then older folks would prefer something better on score number six. And so then using that as a way then to not only just provide these scores, but to also weight those scores based on the general preferences of a younger demographic versus an older demographic. Have you seen anything like that, or have you thought about something like that?
Yeah, so it's definitely something I've thought about and something I want to do. So we have our battery of scores, and they're weighted based on sort of general consumer preferences and priorities, where cooling and pressure relief are the sort of heaviest weighted things, because those are most important for most people, and stuff like sex and company policies are lower. Still important, still something we want to test and score, but obviously that's not as important as cooling or pressure relief. One thing that I sort of am it's on my sort of development roadmap is doing exactly what you've stated, and is basically allowing our consumers and our readers the ability to dynamically adjust the weights. And so they'll have our scoring data, and then they have the flexibility to go in and say, all right, well, here's the score with the default weights, but cooling is the most important. It's 60% of my total weight, and my partner moves around a lot, so I'm going to say that motion transfer is 30% and everything else is 10%. And then that could totally reconfigure our scores to show, the mattresses that are truly best for you. We may be able to take that sort of a step farther and then say, okay, here's a preset if you're a side sleeper or a back sleeper, or if you're 60 or 20,
Mm.
or, different sort of, things that are important to sort of basically make those sort of, quick adjustments. So it's definitely something I want to build. The sort of technical sort of hurdles between getting that idea out the door and where we're at right now is a real challenge. And so I've got to do some work yet to figure out how I would actually go about implementing it, but I do love it as an idea.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine because that then would take the results that you have and be a little bit more personalized to the person that's on there. And I kind of like your idea of, potentially saying, well, I'm a side sleeper and I want to be able to do this or that or whatever it happens to be, and then, adjust those weightings to see how the different mattresses might score given those different weightings. Yeah, that is really fascinating. Now, you've had some interesting media exposure. And so tell us a little bit about that and how that's kind of influenced your data and your storytelling activities.
Yeah, so I mean, we've been very fortunate to attract different interviews and TV appearances and podcasts and stuff. And so I think when it comes to finding those sort of opportunities, it's really been create stuff that's interesting more than anything. It's just we whether we're creating an individual mattress test or comparison or best of list, or we're doing a survey or a study. We're trying to make stuff that people are interested in, that people like, that people want to share, stuff that is also stuff that's just not out there. And so I think creating something that is unique, especially when we talk about information gain, it's so important into the world of search marketing and SEO, but also for AI as well. But equally important for anybody that is going to be interested in telling a story about your brand or your company. They want that information gain, they want the story, they want the new thing. And so we're always trying to make the new thing. So we just recently rolled out our 2026 state of sleep. This is sort of a new sort of flagship report that we're rolling out this year, where we asked 50,000 people all of these different things that are important to them in terms of sleep and routine and schedules and mattress types and all kinds of stuff. We compiled it to this massive report and broke it down by gender and generational and age ranges and all these different sort of factors that really give some really interesting insight in the world of how Americans are sleeping, or more likely not sleeping particularly well. And so we're really excited to start talking about that, and having some interesting conversations with anybody that's interested.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's definitely exactly what makes sense. And getting 50,000 responses on something as important as sleep. When you read nowadays, if you get the right amount of well, if you don't get the right amount of sleep, then that definitely affects your health. And so, getting the right amount of sleep and being able to support that is pretty critical for just about everybody.
Absolutely. Sleep is one of those things that I think is sort of easy to ignore until it's sort of a huge problem in your life. And it's also one of those things that, you eventually pay the sleep debt no matter what. You're going to either catch up, or your body's going to catch up for you and then sort of, punish you in one or more ways, sort of, physically, emotionally, mentally, energy levels. And so it's one of those things that it's definitely worth prioritizing.
Yeah, yeah, it sure is. And like I said early on, a third of your life is sleeping on that mattress. But definitely also, it's funny. It's kind of like I could see the mattress salesman now is, this mattress is going to last for 5 years, and so how much do you want to pay every night, for a good night's sleep? Is $1 too much? Is $2 too much?
Yeah.
And I don't know what the right numbers are, but I could see them, having that thing is $5 too much for a good night's sleep? So,
Yeah.
yeah, really fascinating. Well, I do have one last question for you. And being in marketing and what have you, and when you think about how AI has impacted marketing in such a significant way, what advice would you give a new and upcoming marketer that's trying to break into being a marketer?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think conventional wisdom, whether it's sort of AI or any other sort of tool to like rapidly increase sort of efficiency and speed and productivity, has always been to rely on these tools to, scale sort of as big as possible, build the biggest sites you can, build the biggest, longest articles you can, the biggest, longest videos. I have always sort of, gone in the opposite direction where, and that would be my advice as well here, is to take your idea and use AI to make it better, but don't let AI be the sort of foundation of the idea. Don't let that be the only thing that makes the idea work. And the reason I think that's important is because AI is there's no barrier to entry. Anybody can see your idea, take it, do it a little bit better, and now they're the king of the castle. Whereas if you do something that AI can't do merely by itself, I think you better insulate your idea. And perhaps more importantly, you create something that only really you could create or something that's harder to create. And I think that sort of foundational sort of information gain is important. Again, whether you are, trying to do well in search or social, or the world of AI, or just, get people interested in talking about, your project, doing something that couldn't have been built with I think is foundationally the most important. But then, of course, use AI to make it bigger and better. But if you start with the AI piece, I think you sort of handicap yourself because it's just very easy for a competitor to come in and basically do exactly what you've done and sort of push you out of the space.
Yeah, how true, how true. And I was talking at this conference. I keep bringing it up, but at this conference, I was talking to somebody, and it is so easy, regardless of whatever it is that you have, and regardless of what your innovation it's so easy for those things to be copied, and and have a me too that you're competing against that might be 25% cheaper. And so then, like you're saying is, focus on the things that really matter, and that will definitely lead to something of value that will hopefully translate into a better job, a better career, or whatever.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic. So, well, I appreciate it. It's great to have you on today, Derek. So tell us, where can folks learn more about you and your company?
You can find us at naplab.com. That's naplab.com. There we have our reviews, comparisons, best of guides, educational materials, and a whole lot more. You'll also find our mattress finder quiz there. Answer a few questions about needs, preferences, and budget. That goes straight to me or a member of my team. We send you back a free personalized recommendation within 24 hours. And we also have our contact form there. If you just want to say hi, ask a question related to mattresses or anything else, I'm always there and happy to have a chat.
Well, fantastic. So that's naplab.com, naplab.com. Derek, so great to have you and really appreciate it. Very interesting to hear your story and learn about how you're now using AI in kind of the right mix to drive your business forward. Um, for the audience, definitely stay tuned. As I mentioned, there's some new things coming out on my book, the AI Marketing Machine. So go to marketingmachine.prorelevant.com, and of course, sign up for many more videos on this series of the backstory on marketing and AI. Derek, thank you so much. Really great to have you today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great.